Thank you. Good evening. My name is Tony Zabicki, and I'll be the moderator this evening. But before I start with questions and process, Director Beth Dingman, who is the chair of nominations and elections, will have a few words. Beth?
Yes, good morning, good evening, I guess. And thank you for coming, although I do wish there were a few more of you. At any rate, the format, Tony will go over the format. I just want to say that after we give all the questions and the questions are answered here, and your questions that you're going to put right on your slips on your table are asked, then we will go over the bylaws. So I would encourage you to stay for another extra 10 minutes while I try to explain the bylaws. They're fairly complicated this year. And I just, they look more complicated than they are. So we'll try to explain that. And like I say, there are cards on the table. Please write any questions that you have, and we will collect them at the intermission, and Tony will then ask them or, of the panel after the intermission. So anyway, thank you again for coming. And this is the moderator. Here's Tony Zabicki.
Oh, please don't applaud. Again, my name is Tony Zabicki. I'm not going to be a master of ceremonies. I will moderate the discussion. It's not a debate. The candidates have in the past and will in the future be respectful of the other candidates. The audience will be respectful of the candidates. The candidates will be respectful of the audience. The format will be as follows. Candidates were provided with a list of questions that they know may be asked. They may not ask all of them. Each candidate will be given the opportunity to answer 2 questions that they already have seen. 5 of the questions will be questions that were asked last week. We will not ask the initial question of the same person, but 5 of the questions will be repeated from last week. 5 of the questions will be new questions that they have seen but were not asked last week. Following that, there will be 5 questions asked of the candidates that they have not seen. When a candidate is asked a question, they will have 2 minutes to respond. After they respond, each of the other candidates will have 1 minute to add anything they wish to. They don't have to, they're not obligated to, but if they wish to add anything to the topic, they certainly are welcome to do so. That also pertains to the questions that they don't know. I will introduce the candidates. They will be given 2 minutes to do an introduction of themselves. And when we're wrapping up, they will also have 2 minutes to do a closing statements for themselves. So, with that said, I'm just going to briefly introduce them to start with. Going from your left to the right, Barry Stock, Christy McClue, Chris McCutcheon, Dale Howard, and Bev Garneau. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Did I mess up anybody's name? I did. Did I say Marge Garneau? What did I say?
Bev.
Bev.
Did you want me to change my name?
Is your middle name Bev?
No.
Marge Garneau, folks. I did that last year with a candidate also. I apologize. Okay, Barry, the first question will go to you. And I'll repeat the question 2 times.
We're going to introduce ourselves first.
We should do that.
Okay.
Barry, do your introductory statement, please.
All right, thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everybody. My name again is Barry Stock. My wife Lorna and I are both from Minnesota, and we discovered a retirement about 8 years ago. We did the Airbnb thing for a number of years in the Catalina foothills. A friend of mine then told me about Green Valley. Visited Green Valley, and it was a no-brainer. And we purchased a home here 4 years ago in Kenora Northwest subdivision. Now we split our time between Prior Lake, Minnesota in the summer and Green Valley in the winters. Prior to retirement, I spent 35 years in local government. I have an undergraduate degree and a master's degree in urban and regional studies. I primarily worked in 2 communities in the South Metro area of the Twin Cities. And over the years, I was primarily involved in administration of a wide variety of city programs and services. The last 13 years of my career I spent as city administrator in the city of Savage, which is a population of about 32,000. I was responsible for an operating budget of 17 million and an enterprise fund budget of 15 million, and had supervisory responsibility over 165 full-time employees and about 100 part-time employees. I was also responsible for managing all the various departments in the city. Also, over my years of service, I was involved in a number of building projects, police stations, fire stations, community centers, ice arenas, indoor sports domes, liquor stores, all kinds of buildings. I also was involved in many organizations, president of 2 different chambers of commerces, president of the soccer club, variety of church committees, and a number of other things. I also, Dale, like you, I was a high school soccer referee for 10 years.
Oh, steal my thunder.
Thank you.
Thank you. Christy.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christy McHugh. I moved here with my husband about almost 4 years ago now. Shortly after we moved here, he unfortunately passed away. And I didn't know a lot of people. And I was trying to decide what I was going to do with the rest of my time. And in the meantime, I decided that I was going to make a commitment to myself to get out of the house at least once a day. And I chose to go to the gym. It legitimately saved my life. So I went to the gym every day. I lost 55 pounds. I met some fantastic people. And it is why I am sitting here this evening with all of you. So my career has been in technology, almost entirely my career, most recently in cybersecurity, which is fascinating. I also am a licensed real estate realtor, and I serve as the treasurer of my HOA as of February of this year. So those roles have given me a lot of very real hands-on experience with budgets, long-range planning, risk management, a lot of different stakeholders and managing their expectations, especially those who are very passionate about topics. So I feel like I'm very qualified to help represent all of you on the board, but I wanted to be really clear that I am not running because I'm unhappy with GVR. I'm actually running because I want it to stay healthy and relevant and be here for a very long time.
Thank you, Christy. Chris.
Good evening, everyone. Chris McCrumman. My wife and I live up in Capistrano, Las Campanas. We moved here 3 years ago, and we live here full time. Yes, we enjoy the heat, and we enjoy all of the amenities at GVR. You can find us at the centers. We have a garden out in Sarita. We're part of the garden club. We were out there all day today planting, which was exciting because we're kind of past a little bit of the cold. But we are big facility use people. We really love Green Valley. And when we moved down here from Washington State, we're both longtime educators. I spent 35 years in public education, 20 years as a classroom teacher, grades 4 through 12. And then I was a elementary principal, a high school principal, and then an executive director in a large district up in Washington State, just north of Tacoma, south of Seattle. I have a master's degree in educational technology and leadership, but those are just kind of titles. What I do appreciate is working with people, getting people on the same page, working together, and being very collaborative. My roles in my executive director allowed me to be on many committees as a principal or a director, leadership roles, and also co-chairing committees. A big part of it was writing a strategic plan in Federal Way Public Schools, which was very exciting. And the strategic plan is coming up here in Green Valley, so I have that experience. For me, just as a candidate, I love to collaborate. I love teamwork. I love working together with people. And I kind of have this mantra that if we all work together, we can do anything really is possible. So that's who I am. Here we go.
Thank you. Dale?
Hi, I'm Dale Howard. I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and in 1972 I enlisted in the Air Force when Uncle Sam sent me a nice little notice in the mail and said I was going to get to join anyways. I spent the next 21 years on active duty with the Air Force and Air National Guard. I worked in finance and then switched to IT and communications. During this time, I got a BS in business administration with a major in accounting from Columbia College. After retiring, I worked 5 years at the Fox Theater / Metrotix in St. Louis and 16 years at Magellan Health Services doing desktop support and network administration. I've served as a treasurer of a Lutheran church and a day school. I've been a condo board member and president. I'm a member of my church club, which does fundraising through barbecues and Christmas tree sales for several local charities. My wife and I have been in Green Valley for about 16 years. We rented my cousin's townhouse and decided that this was the place where we wanted to spend our retirement. We became GVR members 15 years ago and have purchased our forever home. But we do spend the summer from middle of May to the middle of October back in Alton, Illinois with our grandkids. Gotta stay with them. I wake up every day thankful for GVR and its many activities so that my wife can swim, exercise, play pop tennis and pickleball, line dance, the Amigas, another dance club, as well as yoga and a few others. Oh, by the way, she does stop by the house occasionally to eat and say hi. I'm currently on the fiscal affairs and the investment committees and attend or watch videos of all the board and other committee meetings as well, and I'm very fascinated with the GVR process. I have been a member of the photography and computer clubs. I volunteer at various GVR events as well. In my spare time, I work as a substitute monitor up at the Tortuga Golf Course, and I have, to outdo Barry, officiated high school sports for over 30 years. I have retired, and yes, I'm familiar with conflict management. So, thank you.
Thank you. Marge, not Bev.
The last one. Okay. My name is Marge Garneau. I want to thank you all for coming to hear what we have to say and to ask your questions. And if I don't answer your question today, please send me an email and I'll try to answer it when I get the email. We moved here in 2006 on our way to St. George, Utah to build a house, and we never left. We were going to be part-time and decided we loved it here so much and played so much tennis that we sold our house in Colorado and never looked back. We're year-round residents. We generally take a week or two and go see kids, but that's about it. So I have a master's degree in business administration, and I have a bachelor's degree in accounting. I've always been in business or in management, and I love it. And as the staff will tell you, I have a little trouble not stepping over that line. And they'll tell me, back off. It's not your job. So I've enjoyed being on the board. I absolutely love GVR. We love everything about GVR. We played tennis, and then I hurt my shoulder. I worked in the artisan shop, and then I ran out of time to make things, so that didn't work. I went to pickleball, and it bothered my shoulder, and then I went to ceramics and lapidary and glass arts. So I go to the fitness center, I go to the pools, and I manage several HOA homeowners associations here in Green Valley. And my husband says someday I may retire, but I love it here and I think it's a great place to be.
Thank you. There will be an opportunity after all the questions are said and everything's done that the candidates will stick around. So if you don't feel a question was asked, or if you want further clarification, or you want something additional, candidates will make themselves available so you can speak to them one-on-one. So the first question I'm going to start here on the left will be for Barry. Barry, what is your understanding of the Members Assistance Program, MAP, and how the GVR Foundation contributes to MAP? And I'll repeat the question. What is your understanding about the Members Assistance Program, and how the GVR Foundation contributes to MAP.
Okay, well, the creation of the MAP program was intended to assist those that may not have the financial means to pay the annual membership fee. Upon receipt of an application, the staff reviews those to determine if they qualify for some assistance. Sometimes it can be partial assistance, sometimes it can be full assistance. The GVR Foundation is a nonprofit organization. I know that a month or so ago, they presented GVR with a check for $30,000 that they raised through a variety of programs, most notably the bingo. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. But also on your statement, when you get your annual membership dues, members can make a contribution directly to GVR. The primary difference between the foundation and the GVR is that GVR is not a nonprofit, so your donation would not be eligible for a charitable deduction. If you make your donation to the foundation, it is eligible for charitable deduction. The one thing I would say is that the GVR Foundation is not obligated every year to make a contribution to a GVR. That could change over the years. Hopefully it doesn't, because it's a great program that is of assistance to our members. So hope you continue to support that. And I know that the foundation is trying to create an endowment of about $1 million, and then the interest earnings from that endowment would be used to make their contribution to GVR.
Thank you. Any of the candidates wish to add to that? Dale?
Yeah, one other thing, some of our clubs have also chosen to donate to MAP as well, which is a wonderful thing. So thank you to them.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Christie? Do you see the demographics of GVR changing? Are there any new trends that you think GVR should be paying attention to? I'll repeat that. Do you see the demographics of GVR changing? Are there any new trends that you think GVR should be paying attention to?
Sure, thank you. Yes, of course the demographics are going to change. We are going to be ushering in a new generation of people, right? So we have a lot of people who are in just a lot of boomers. Sorry, I just lost the word. That generation, and we are going to have more people moving in who are Generation X. So they are going to ask for different things. They will have different needs. Some of those things are probably going to involve technology. So I think we need to think a little bit about technology. I think potentially some different fitness options, maybe preferences around communication. And I do think that it is, we may want to start thinking about bringing in people who are not yet retired, who are remote workers, and who might want to be looking at Green Valley to retire in at some point in the future, and trying to encourage them to move here ahead of time so that we continue to have more people coming into the community and in making sure that we are maintaining the revenue that we need.
Anybody wish to add to that? Chris?
Thank you for your response, Christy. I appreciate all that you said. One of the things that I'd like to add is just that I want to add on the technology piece. I believe that we're in that crossroads of how do we bring people down to Green Valley, and how do we increase our technology access. The other part that I would like for us to consider is my adult children. I don't have grandchildren yet. We've been asking, but we don't have any yet. Our adult children, they don't want a second home. And so how do we look at that differently? How do we look at second homes, and is that going to be a thing in the future? And how do we leverage that? And then that's also a challenge.
Thank you. Marge?
I just want to say that the staff does a really good job of adding new programs and adding new ideas. It seems like, all of us get in a rut and we think, oh, okay, well, I can go do this. But then I look in the catalog and there's, 3 or 4 more new things in there. So overall, I think the staff has done a really great job of trying to meet the needs of the new people and meet the needs of the old people. Oh, did I say old? Older people. So,
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Tony, could I chime
Oh.
in? I just want to jump in on the old people comment. It's no doubt that we're all living longer. The advances made in surgeries is incredible. We're living longer. So one of the things I would like us to address going forward, and staff does do a great job, there's no doubt about that, but perhaps in the upcoming survey that we're going to do as part of the strategic plan, I'd try to identify what the physical limitations are that are preventing people from participating in our programs. I know I have a lot of neighbors that don't participate in any programs, and I ask them why, and they don't really have a good answers, but maybe a survey can dig into that a little deeper.
Thank you. Chris, your initial question. Have you been on any GVR committees or attended any board meetings in the last year? Just describe your use of GVR facilities and participation in GVR activities in the past 2 years. And I'll repeat that. Have you been on any GVR committees or attended any board meetings in the last year? Describe your use of GVR facilities and participation in GVR activities in the past 2 years.
Thank you for that question. I am not currently on a committee for GVR. I've attended several committee meetings this year and several board meetings this year. I was a full-time employee last year, taught high school at Sarita High School last year. So the challenge was to attend meetings when I was at school. But I am on our HOA in Capistrano. So I'm currently serving as the treasurer and the chair of the audit committee. In fact, we are just doing a reserve study now for our HOA in Capistrano. And so that's given me a wealth of information about how reserve studies are conducted. And so being on that committee, but no, not on GVR committee, but I've attended many meetings. As far as my use of GVR facilities, my wife and I use the facilities every day. We're either swimming, and we have tried to go to every pool to swim over the past 3 years. Swimming, using the fitness rooms. We play pickleball. We're not on the pickleball team or the pickleball club. We're just kind of hitting the ball around. We've played tennis. And again, I think I said this earlier, we're on the Green Valley Gardeners Club, which is not GVR, but it's Green Valley Gardeners Club, and we have a big lot up in Sarita where we were, in fact, guarding today. Using the facilities all the time, and then I'm looking at looking at the classes and trying to figure out what are some things that I want to be a part of. But again, I was working full-time last year, so I didn't have those chances.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to add? Barry?
Yeah, for the past year, I've served on the GVR's Fiscal Affairs Committee and the Planning and Evaluation Committee. That's been a great learning opportunity to get familiar with our expenditures and revenues and how they fit into our long-term capital improvement plan. I'm also a member of the Pickleball Club. This past year, I served on a steering committee to survey our membership to determine what improvements they would like to see at the pickleball center. Not surprising, the number one thing that they would like to see is more shade. I'm also very fitness-minded, and I've been to a number of the fitness rooms in our facilities. I enjoy taking a dip in the pool, the hot tubs, and my wife's taken a number of classes, as have I. So the facilities and services we have to offer here are incredible.
Thank you. Dale?
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed is that GVR is doing a wonderful job of adding more activities. They've added a number of excellent tribute bands. They've added, and if it's you want to see something entertaining, come out here about 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and watch you guys out here on the dance floor. It's very entertaining. Nothing boring about it. But I've also been to a NASCAR race. I've been to the Barrett-Jackson auto auction. I'm going to the Color Guard golf tournament here in a couple of weeks. The number of options that they have given us that we didn't have before is very exciting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Last call. Okay. Dale, this question's for you. Only about 20% of the members answer GVR surveys. Do you have any thoughts on some tools the board could use to ensure members' voices are being heard and how we might improve member feedback? Let me repeat that. Only about 20% of the members answer GVR surveys. Do you have any thoughts on some tools the board could use to ensure members' voices are heard and how we might improve member feedback? Well,
given that typically 20 to 30% is the typical return in an election, we've tried a number of different options. We do have a GVR hotline. We have a GVR email box. We have all kinds of, we have the weekly newsletter that gets sent out, or email that gets sent out. We have the printed GVR Now. We take surveys when possible. It is frustrating trying to get more response from people. I don't know that I have the magic ball that we can break or click that's going to get something that will suddenly get 60 or 70% of our members to stand up and be heard. We would love to hear more from them, because it is very frustrating to try and figure out sometimes what the majority of the people want when the majority of the people don't speak up. So we'd love to get more response.
Thank you. Anyone wish to add? Marge.
You know, I think that people say to me, well, you know, you only got 40 people that sent you an email. But to me, those 40 people that sent me an email are trying to tell me how they feel about something. So I think that to me is one of the most critical things a board member gets. You can send an email through the hotline and it will get to all the boards. You can send an email direct to me and I'll try to answer your questions. And those that I can't, I know staff is really good at backing us up and trying to answer questions. So, you know, that's the most critical as far as I'm concerned. I'd rather hear from 10 people than to not hear from anyone at all. So I also talk to a lot of people when I'm out and about and at the facilities, and that's another good real source of information.
Thank you. Christy.
Thank you. I agree with everything that Dale and Marge have said as well, but I just wanted to reinforce that I think getting participation in any kind of survey, regardless of the tool that you use, is making sure that people know what information we heard and what we did with it, so that they feel like it was heard. I mean, sometimes we take surveys and we're not sure exactly what happened to that information. So just closing the loop for people, I think, would be very helpful. And I'm not suggesting we're not doing that now. I just am making a point of clarification.
Barry?
One idea that I had, if we have an issue that needs input, would be to use pollsters, volunteers, to go out at our centers and simply ask our members questions. I think people are more than responsive. If you're face to face and you have 5 or 6 questions, they're not going to want to answer a 100-question survey, but 5 or 6 questions would be a good opportunity. Another idea that I had was using our HOAs. We have over 100 HOAs in Green Valley, and reaching out to them to help spread the word on our survey, or for us to show up at an association meeting and get input directly like that through maybe a forum type of setting, would be a good way to get additional input. It all depends on what the issue is.
Chris?
I do appreciate what everybody said up here as well. I just want to add, for me personally, I'm a big technology person, and I think I really truly like QR codes. So I think, like, there's a piece of paper on your table that says some feedback. If there's a QR code, you wouldn't have to fill it out, and you could maybe possibly fill it on your phone. Some people don't like that. I'm just a big proponent of that, and I also believe those small, quick, 3-question surveys are going to help provide information. And I also really appreciate what Christy said. Closing the feedback loop, I think, is really important. Publishing the results of surveys, and again, I'm not saying that's not happening either, but publishing those, getting those results out in front of people, because I think some people may feel like their voice isn't heard. So how do you say good, bad, pretty, ugly, whatever the results are, how do we get them in front of people so people say, hey, I said something and you listened?
Thank you. Marge, this question is for you, and it sort of follows a path from this last question. How much membership input do you feel the board needs to make major spending decisions? How much membership input do you feel the board needs to make major spending decisions?
I think it's critical. I think it's really important that we know before we spend what things people want. I think it's real important to know how you feel about things. I mean, I know the burden falls on those of us who are elected to the board to make the decision, but without input, it's like making the decision in the dark. So, I think it's a very important issue. Many times I've said I think we need to go out with a survey, or we need to check with our members to find out if they want something done or not. Right now we're dealing with the South Abrego pool, and we're getting a lot of feedback on that. I think we had over 40 emails that have come in on that, and most of those are pretty strong in their opinion of what we should do with it. We had the same thing happen with East, when we did East Center and we did the North Abrego pool. I know when we were redoing the Artisan Center over here, I got a lot of feedback from that, and it was kind of nice to hear whether people were concerned or not, and we get both, but it really helps us to make that decision. And I don't think the burden falls on me only. I think if it's a small thing, I can make it, but I feel like we need to have our members' input to make major decisions.
Thank you. Anyone? Christy?
Thank you, Marge. I agree with what Marge said. I think having input is very important. I think it needs to be structured. So I think that having some early stage listening sessions, and then making sure that we're sharing the options, the costs, and the trade-offs that are part of the conversation. And then sharing again that feedback and what we're doing with that feedback, and then really making sure that the decisions we're making clearly reflect the members' priorities. So it does require a lot of input from the members in order to make sure that we're making decisions appropriately according to their expectations.
Barry?
I don't know how many people know this, but our GVR bylaws have provisions as to when we are required to go to our membership for a vote on certain items. First and foremost, we need to follow that. But I also believe that as elected officials, so to speak, we've been entrusted by our members to make decisions. And one way we need to get input, I'm not saying we don't need input, of course we need input, but when we do our strategic planning survey, that's when those questions should be asked. We shouldn't be going to the well every time there's an issue that has controversy. I'm not in favor of placing items on the ballot willy-nilly to get input. Once you go down that rat hole, so to speak, you've really set precedent, and when are you not going to do that the next time? So public input is important, it's critical, it's essential, but we also have to make the tough decisions.
Anyone else? Dale?
Yeah, just for those of you who have never seen it, this is the strategic plan, and this one is from 22 to 26. So next year, the board will be hiring a contractor to work with us to create a strategic plan for 27 through 31. And it comes up with a forecast of all the things that GVR wants to try and do to give us a plan so that we can look and see all the things we want to try and accomplish in the next 5 years, so that we have a guideline to start with. We're just not making it up every year as we go along. There is a plan here, and it's a wonderful guideline to get us going in the right direction every year.
Thank you. Anyone else, Karen? Okay. So that was the first round of 5 questions. Those questions the candidates had seen, and those questions were also asked last week. So there was some degree of familiarity with those questions. The next 5 questions the candidates have seen, but they were not asked last week. Dale, the first question will go to you. Serving as a director requires a significant amount of time. How many hours a week do you see yourself devoting to your role as a director? I'll repeat that. Serving as a director requires a significant amount of time. How many hours a week do you see yourself devoting to your role as a director?
Okay, that's an excellent question. Well, first of all, one of the things that's going to make this interesting is one of the bylaws that's being proposed to eliminate 2 of the existing 6 committees. So if we go from 6 committees to 4 committees, that's going to put an additional workload on every board member to be a member of more committees. Typically, the committees I'm on the Fiscal Affairs and the Investment Committee. We have a meeting once a month, and I spend a couple of hours in the days coming up to that meeting to review all the documentation that we've got and go through the financials. If I'm a board member, I'm looking at another 4 to 6 hours probably at least, preparing for the board workshops and board. It all depends too on your organizational skills and how OCD you are, how deeply you get into every little nook and cranny and detail. Some of the people can skim through it much faster and not spend as much time, but the key is whoever you are, when you walk into those committee meetings or those board meetings, you got to be prepared and be ready to participate and to make sure that GVR gets the best that you have to offer.
Thank you. Anyone else? Chris?
I would just like to add that while I don't have experience as a board member here, experience as a building principal or executive director in my past in the school district, I felt like I was always on. Now, I'm not saying that I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and did work all the time, but I think as a director, you might have these different times throughout the year where maybe the summer months aren't on as much because the meetings aren't happening, but like Dale said, you have to come into any meeting prepared. So on meeting weeks, you might be working more hours, but I would see myself being on, meaning if I'm swimming in the pool or doing something in the pool, I might be thinking about the board or thinking about GVR, just like what are some improvements? How can I be a better board member or something? So it's not necessarily like the number of hours for me. It's more like I feel like I would be on all the time.
Marge?
I think, just speaking from experience, when I was president of the board, I felt like I did more and I put more hours in. I would meet with board members, but mostly with staff, especially with Scott or the finance director. But as not being an officer, I zoom into the committee meetings so I know what's going on when I can. We have a work session just about I think it's every month that we'll have one. So you have that, and then you have the board meeting itself. And in between, you have the paperwork comes out, and we have to study that so we know, what we're going to have at the work session or at the board meeting. I don't think there's a set number of hours. I think the others have said it pretty clear. It depends on how much you want to read and how much you can just guess and work your way through.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Marge, next question's for you. If GVR were to be on the cover of your favorite magazine in 5 years, what would the story be about? I'll ask that again. If GVR were to be on the cover of your favorite magazine in 5 years, what would the story be about?
Whoa, that's a hard one, because to me, the story would be about what a great place it is to live, what a great place it is to spend your retirement. I've seen articles about GVR in different venues. I've seen them in the news. I've seen them in some of the magazines. I don't think there's anything here that you couldn't spotlight. We have so much. We have so many clubs, and we have so many activities, and we have so many things to do that it would be really hard to pick one over another. To me, I think they'd have to focus on just how wonderful it is and all the different things that we have to do. And then on top of it all, we have the wonderful weather. And people can say it's hot in the summer. I don't believe them. I stay inside where it's air conditioned, so I don't think that the heat stops me from doing anything. You know, I think when I played tennis at 7 a.m. in the summer and later in the day in the winter. So when I was working at the Artisan Center, you know, you could put in what hours you wanted to work, and I preferred to sleep in. So I'd like to work later in the day or in the afternoon, and they were gracious and let us try to do that. I think when there's classes to attend, if they want to advertise those, they can. But overall, I think the message is what a wonderful place to go to retire.
Thank you. Christy?
Oh, sorry. I took a breath and swallowed at the same time. Sorry. I'm putting on a good show here tonight. So I think it would be spectacular to see GVR on the cover of a magazine, and I would love if we could highlight how we successfully balanced growth, aging facilities, and member amenities. You know, it would be even better, I think, if we could talk about how we used strong data, financial planning, and robust member input to support a wide range of clubs and activities, and how we could keep GVR welcoming and affordable, and a sense of community that I think most of us really enjoy here.
Thank you. Barry?
This was a very easy question for me, because it's the only magazine I read, and it might be the only magazine you read too, AARP. And the message would be simple: secret for senior living Green Valley, for all the reasons they mentioned.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, I kind of dwelled on this question actually for the past couple of weeks. I thought this was a great creative question. At first I was thinking National Geographic, you know, some headline of Bring the Heat or something about the Sonoran Desert. But I don't know how many of you are familiar with the magazine The Economist. It's kind of a boring magazine, but The Economist, I just love this magazine because it's focused on data, it's focused on success stories, and how it would really be about how GVR is affordable. We're using data, and we just have this healthy and vibrant community that's affordable. So thank you.
Thank you. Dale?
Yeah, I started out with Sports Illustrated, and then I went, oops, there's a whole lot of things that aren't sports related, so let me back up. And I decided it's got to be Times Magazine, and we're going to be the recreational organization of the year for 2031. And when we get done showing off all the great stuff we do, we got to have a mascot. So you guys start thinking now for the contest in 2031, what the mascot's going to be for GVR.
Thank you. That was sort of a fun question. Barry, this question will go to you. In your opinion, what are the key priorities the board should focus on in 2026? That's this calendar year. In your opinion, what are the key priorities the board should focus on in 2026?
Well, first and foremost, it's completion of our strategic plan, because the strategic plan sets forth the direction for the next 5 years. So that's first and foremost. We need to spend our time on that. Another thing I'd like us to spend some time is developing some performance measurement standards to help ensure the long-term fiscal sustainability of our organization. Lastly, if I only could have 3, I would say it would be enhancing board member relationships and establishing a clear understanding of the roles and responsibilities of staff and the board.
Anyone? Christy?
I think that was a very good answer, and I know we can only have 3, so I'm just going to add 3 more, and we'll take the best of 12 or however many it ends up being. So I think facilities and maintenance is very important, right? Ensuring that our centers and amenities are maintained, and that they are improved strategically. Financial sustainability and value. So we do have an organization that is tremendously valuable. The dues are very, very reasonable. And we provide a lot with those dues that we have. So keeping those dues as predictable as possible, and making sure that we have a good, strong, responsible capital plan, and then member engagement. I think that member engagement is, it's absolutely critical to ensuring that we are bringing as much value as we can and keeping dues low.
Thank you. Chris?
Barry, I just really appreciate you focusing on the strategic plan, so thank you for mentioning that. Same thing, strategic planning is key. It's where you want to be in 5 years, how are we going to get there, what are the measures of success? And I also think the other part is finishing the projects where we have started. South Brega Pool, other things, the extension over at Las Campanas, the weight room or the fitness room, Del Sol, Cafe Del Sol. So finishing those projects, and again, how do they fit within the strategic plan?
Thank you. Dale?
Yeah, we got some more too. The West Center administration move so that GVR will be one-stop shopping in the West Center for all of our new members and for a lot of the other processes that we go through instead of being chased from building to building. The lapidary right out here is going on. They're all reorganized right now and shuffled off to the East Center and Desert Hills, but we'll get that done. And then we got to start peeking ahead to 2027, and we got woodworking coming up. So we got some exciting things. We're doing a lot of good things for a lot of clubs. It's great.
Marge?
I think, to me, if I can only pick three things, the first one for me would be members. It would be trying to find out what we have and what we need and how best to serve our members and their needs. And then the second thing would be aging facilities. You know, we're dealing with that with pools where Scott's doing a great job in upgrading. He just finished Canoa Hills, and I think he's probably got his eye on another place or two in the near future. And so I think the facilities are important. And then the board and how it works well together would be probably my third choice.
Thank you. I don't think I limited it to three, but it was handy, but thank you.
Keep things moving.
Yeah, I think Barry started with three, and so I thought that was the...
It's all Barry's fault.
It's all Barry's fault, that's right. Christy, this is your second question. If the board deliberates on an issue that impacts a particular club or special interest group to which you belong, would you recuse yourself from the discussion and vote? If not, why? Let me repeat that. If the board deliberates on an issue that impacts a particular club or special interest group to which you belong, would you recuse yourself from discussion and vote? If not, why?
So this was a very interesting question, and I'm not entirely sure I know what the history is of this question. But I think the short answer is yes. If I am materially attached to a club or some interest, I think that it is important for me to step out of voting, certainly. I do think, however, there is some value to contributing to the conversation from an, I'll use quotations, expert level. So if I do have that level of expert knowledge about a club or an organization, I think adding to the conversation and then stepping out of the vote would be appropriate.
Thank you. Christy, there is a history here at GVR for everything. Does anybody else wish to say? Barry?
Would I recuse myself? The answer is no. I would not recuse myself. Why? Because all the programs and services benefit me. Nothing financially benefits me. Being a board member does not financially benefit me. So the only time I believe you should recuse yourself, and this is going back to my years in city government, is when you have a direct financial interest. Sometimes recusing yourself is an easy way to get out of a difficult decision. I'm ready to take the tough decisions head on, and you may not like the outcome of my opinion, but that's okay. We all have differences of opinion. That's what makes for good decision making.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one's going to touch that. Okay. Chris, this is the last of the second questions. How do you think funds should be allocated for projects? For example, should it be club size, estimated cost of the project, level of financial contribution by the club, level of GVR community membership support for the project? I'll repeat it. How do you think funds should be allocated for projects? For example, should it be club size, estimated cost of the project, level of financial contribution by the club, level of GVR community membership support for the project?
Thank you for that question. I think it's not a zero-sum game. It's all points. It's looking at all data points. How many club members are currently? How does the club see its growth in the future? We have to make thoughtful decisions, not just rash decisions based on what might be popular right now. None of us have the magic ball. We can't look at the future. But sometimes I believe there might be clubs that aren't necessarily hugely popular right now, but they have this chance to grow. But I think it's the finances, the numbers, and all the data points and bringing people together. An example, I think, of bringing people together for me in my past is as a high school principal or elementary principal or as a director. One of the things that I engaged in was that accordion process, which means you have an accordion, you're way out here and you bring as much people together to get a lot of voice. Then you squeeze that accordion, you bring it down to the small group, you bring it back out for input. It's not that you're doing that 15 times, but you might do that accordion process several times to get to a refined process. But you're looking at as many data points as possible. The other experience that I have is I was a small business owner in Tacoma. My wife and I owned a wine bar, and we had to look at lots of data on, honestly, like what people were drinking, what wines did they love and which wines they didn't like. But that wasn't the point was not just what was popular right then, but how do you bring people together? How do you build a program? How do you build capacity over time? Thank you.
Marge?
I don't think it has anything to do with club size. I've been doing this with the GVR board for almost 3 years. And I think we more look at the needs, it's like we did the artisans store because you couldn't get somebody couldn't get in there in a wheelchair. They couldn't get in even with a walker most of the time, and they needed more space. Well, they only had, was it about 50 members? About 50 members. And then we looked at the wood shop, who's one of our largest clubs, and they're going to contribute and help because they can, and we're going to make it larger so that they have more space. But we decided, we didn't decide to do that first because they were bigger or because they contributed. We decided to get the artisans done and then to move forward into the lapidary, which needed to have more space for what they do, and then into the wood shop.
Christy?
Yep, I agree with everything Chris and Marge said. I just wanted to add, making sure that we are following the strategic plan and keeping it in alignment with the plan is also important.
Dale?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity. I went down to the Springs for their open house and went into the clay studio and the glass art studio and the art studio, and then came up here for the metal arts open house. And to walk into those facilities and to see the amazing talent that you folks have and the joy that you get out of having a facility that has enough size and enough facilities for you to properly do whatever it is you're doing and I was just staggered and amazed by the amount of talent and the joy that it gives to all of our members that are able to use those facilities.
Barry?
Yeah, I think what's key here is trying to differentiate between wants versus needs. That's a critical part of the discussion. The long-term financial sustainability without placing an excessive burden on our membership is what's important for me going forward. I would also want to add that if a club came in and said, we would 100% fund it, I may or may not support it. We can't just look at the one-time cost. We have to look at the operating cost of whatever feature they're bringing in, and also the replacement cost, because the replacement cost is going to be the burden of GVR and the maintenance.
Thank you. So far, every candidate has had the opportunity to have one question directed to them and follow up on the other questions. I would suggest that this moment in time, we take a 10-minute break. When we return, we will ask a series of 5 questions that the candidates have not seen, and candidates will begin the opportunity to give their closing statements, and we'll collect questions from the audience. So if you have questions on the card, someone will come around tables and pick those up. And also, are there the surveys on the tables also? So if you fill out the surveys with regards to the forms, that would be appreciated. So let's meet back here at 6:05. Thank you. Okay, if we could return to our seats and start.
Okay, where are we?
Thank you. So we'll start the second section of the evening. The next 5 questions that were asked, the candidates have not seen. Certainly, they may have some insight into them because they're questions I think we all consider at some point in time or other. And the first question is one that was actually referred to several times in the first half. And I'm going to pose this to Christy. Explain the value of strategic planning with respect to board governance. Explain the value of strategic planning with respect to board governance.
Sure. So Strategic planning is, I would consider it to be vital to board governance. If you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going. So in order to make appropriate policy decisions, in order to understand where we're going with GVR in the near term and the future, I think that strategic planning is required. I think thoughtful, structured strategic planning is imperative. And then ensuring that we're following that strategic plan, ensuring that our work plan is appropriately designed to support the strategic plan, and then maintaining the governance based on that plan.
Thank you. Anyone else? Barry?
We've all said it before, but I'll say it again, as part of that strategic planning process is a public engagement phase. So you start with a public engagement phase, you get input from your membership, and then you use that in developing your long-term strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan in this case.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. Dale, this question will go to you. Do you believe the GVR properties are secure and safe? What could be done to make them more so? And I'll repeat that. Do you believe that GVR properties are secure and safe, and what could be done to make them more so?
Well, short of hiring additional staff to be secure, almost a security staff to enforce it, I don't know how we can make them. We have so many facilities. We don't have enough people to physically be on site everywhere, but we do use our best weapon, and I always argue for it, is use your badge everywhere you go. Swipe, 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 and don't be a nice neighbor and let other people in without their badge. If they don't got it, they got to go get it. Another thing that allows GVR to do is track usage so that we can accurately assess which facilities are being used and how they're being used. But to go back to the initial question, we've only had very minimal issues of security, and we've installed cameras, we've done a number of things to improve it, but you guys are our eyes and ears. If you see something that doesn't look right, go find a GVR employee and tell them. Let the staff handle it, but you got to help us because we don't have staff everywhere. So we really rely on you guys to help us make sure that we keep it secure.
Marge?
Right before COVID hit, I was in Oregon with her daughter, and she's a nurse in the emergency room, and she came home and she said, "Mom, I'm typhoid fever. You need to go back to Green Valley where you'll be safe." And she said, "Get back in your bubble." And, you know, I think that's, to me, that's what we have. And I think the staff recognize that, and they try to take care of us and the facilities and keep us safe as well as they can. You know, you can't be totally safe, but you can sure see a lot of sheriff's cars driving around. So I think, you know, it's like Dale said, if you see something, call them. And we've had to do that, and they've come out and check things out. We've had some situations in some of the facilities where people have duked it out, and you just call the sheriff and they'll come and separate them and try to figure out what's happening. So I think we're pretty safe.
Chris?
Yeah, I want to add that I feel secure and safe at all the facilities. I've had a couple of incidents, but I think a big shout out is for the staff. Yellow shirt, the yellow shirts, I guess, if you want to call them that, and the people that work there are just so helpful, and they're responsive on call or in their offices. I do think, you know, that I don't know where we are in the pickleball fence, but that's going to be a big thing for pickleball. And I also, you know, the use of cameras. Again, my background is in public schools. As a high school principal, I relied on the cameras daily. But I think we have cameras. And like Marge said, we have volunteer sheriffs they're everywhere, and my wife and I don't even lock our front door at night, so I feel very secure here.
And your address is?
I know where you live.
Anyone else? Okay. Marge, this question is for you. How can GVR better partner with local businesses and other nonprofit community organizations? Do we need to? I'll ask it again. How can GVR better partner with local businesses and other nonprofit community organizations? Do we need to?
I don't think we need to. I think our staff, I think Scott does a great job in all of his contacts with the local organizations. I think, we work well with the other organizations when we, if we get together and have to do things. But most of the time, I think it falls on Scott's shoulders. Maybe he passes it on to some of the other staff. And I think they represent us well. I think we work fairly well with the foundation, and they seem to be our, biggest partner in trying to get money for the MAP program. And, we provide a space for them so that they can do the bingo. And I haven't had a chance to go to it, but I heard it's really doing well. And they managed to make enough money out of the bingo to give us a little extra this year, which was kind of nice to have. But I think Scott does a great job. I think Rotary and some of the other local organizations, Scott, I think? Green Valley Council. And, I think we all make contact with those other organizations, the GVC and some of the others. But I don't know it's high on the importance list.
Christy.
I think anytime businesses partner together, it strengthens the community. I think the partnerships need to be strategic and they need to benefit both partners, but I think it always makes for a stronger community.
Anybody else? Okay. Chris, do we need to market GVR better? If yes, do you have any ideas on how this could be done? Do we need to market GVR better? And if yes, do you have any ideas on how this could be done?
That's a great question. I don't think the word better is the best here. I think marketing changes. We had a question about demographics earlier, and I think when we talk about marketing any organization, you have to look at the trends and look at what strategies you're going to be using. It's going to go back to the strategic plan. How are we going to grow GVR for the next 5 years? How do we keep it healthy and vibrant and affordable? When my wife and I were looking, it was a no-brainer. When we wanted to move to Arizona, we looked at Green Valley, we saw the affordability and all of the facilities here, and it checked everything. But in terms of marketing, I'm a big proponent of using social media to market and to use the website to share information. So I don't think it's a matter of being better. I think it's just, for me, it's looking at what trends we want to market and how does it go back to the strategic planning and what do we want to showcase. Earlier I touched on that I believe that we might be in a situation where we're not going to have as many people owning second homes. So then I do appreciate what Christy said about offering of homes for people who might be remote workers. And how do we bring people who haven't yet retired, how do we get them interested in it? But I don't think it's in terms of being better. It's just looking at the future and saying, how do we go with the changes in a positive manner?
Anyone else? Barry.
This is a tough question, I think, because to do effective marketing is very, 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 very expensive. I mean, and I think the best marketing that we can do is ourselves, spreading the word amongst our friends, because I know some of you are here because your friends were here or your family members, and that's probably the most effective marketing. I would also say the realtors, making sure the realtors are aware of what we have to offer and clearly understand what we have to offer is probably the most cost-effective way for us to market ourselves.
Anybody else? Okay, Barry, this last surprise question is for you, and it's going to sort of follow into what you just said. If someone were to tell you that they were thinking about moving to Green Valley and that they have thoroughly looked at the pros and cons of both GVR and Quail Creek, why would you tell them to choose a GVR property? And I'll repeat that. If someone were to tell you they were thinking about moving to Green Valley and that they have thoroughly looked into the pros and cons of both GVR and Quail Creek, why would you tell them to choose a GVR property?
Well, I can speak directly to this because I looked at Quail Creek and we settled in Green Valley. And the reason why we settled in Green Valley is because, to be quite frank, the number of services that we have to offer and the programs and the facilities is more than what's in Quail Creek, and it's more affordable here. The housing choice options in Green Valley are wide. You can get anything from a small condo type unit to a 3-bedroom, $1 million place with a fancy pool. You've got it all. So there's a lot of housing options. The affordability is incredible for the services that we have and facilities. So those are the key things that I offer. Plus, I don't know how to say this politically correct, and I should know. Everybody I've met in Green Valley has been extremely friendly and open. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in Quail Creek. I'm just saying here, that was a real selling point for me to locate here, just the openness and friendliness that I experienced in meeting so many people.
Anybody else? Marge?
I'd like to share something. When we came down, we went to Quail Creek, and we stayed over there in one of their units, and I said, can we play tennis? And she said, maybe. And I said, could we get somebody to play with? She said, maybe. And so my husband and I went over and played tennis. Then we came over here and rented a place, wound up staying for 3 weeks, bought a house because we played tennis at East Center every single day. We were welcomed, and it's the people. It's not the facilities, it's the people. Everybody was wonderful, everybody was welcoming. They took us to lunch, it was just, that's what I would say, it's the people.
Anybody else? Okay, so that was the last of the surprise questions. We're going to go to some of the questions that were submitted by the audience, and I'm not going to get to everyone, I can tell you that right now. Some of them are sort of duplicate questions. I'm going to try to consolidate them. But the one question that came up both last Wednesday multiple times and came up this time, and we actually touched upon it. So it's, a lot of people might consider it the elephant in the room. Pools. We've got 13 of them. We have had issues with pools over the years. We will continue to have issues with pools over the years. We are currently facing an issue with Abrego South. So, I'll do the same as I did last week. Hopefully, I'm not going to ask this question specifically of anyone, but I hope that everyone will provide input into this question. So, pools, what do you think about them, particularly with respect to the ongoing current issue with Abrego South? Christy.
Sure. This is a topic everybody loves to talk about, which is good. I think we should talk about it. It is a very, very important issue. I think the amenities that we provide to our members is part of what makes GVR what GVR is. And I think evaluating what is important to the members and what we can financially support while keeping member dues predictable and reasonable, particularly for people who are on fixed incomes, is very important. So I know that there has been a lot of work done to try to forecast what expenses might be coming up for pools, and assuming that everything goes according to plan, which we know happens all the time, I think there's opportunities to keep the pools the way that we have them.
Dale.
Well, I know the Fiscal Affairs Committee is working right now. We have a plan that the CFO proposed that predicts every pool that we have, and we look at if a pool fails every 4 years, we have sufficient reserve funds to replace every one of those pools without causing any additional financial strain on the community. We already have enough sufficient reserves, and we set reserves aside every year to do that. But the problem with that is we got a whole bunch of pools that are about the same age, and nobody knows for sure. They told us 2 years ago that Abrego South was in good shape, and looky what we got. So it's a kind of a way. So we're trying to find a better way to forecast what all the pools are going to be able to support and how long they're going to last. But the plan right now is we should be able to keep managing all of them.
Marge?
Yeah, I think as a board member, I don't want to be the one that gets us started not replacing something, whether it's a pool or a facility or a fitness center, or whether it's, some of the other things we have like the mahjong and bridge and things like that. I think we have an obligation to at least try, if we can afford, to rebuild the pool. Maybe we can't rebuild it exactly the way it was. Maybe we can't put it in the exact same spot, but that's what staff does. They tell us how much money we have. They tell us what's the best place. And I think it's real important that we not become an organization that shuts things down just because it's cheaper to do that. So I'm a proponent of, let's see where we go, and hopefully we stay within our budget and we can keep Abrego going and get a new pool in there.
Barry?
This pool question is really one that is a difficult decision, but we really need to focus on, do we really need 13 pools in Green Valley? I mean, it's a tough decision. Do we need 10? Do we need 13? I don't know how many we need. All I know is that the Browning study that we have right now, as Dale mentioned, said the Abrego pool was good 2 years ago. So I don't have a lot of confidence in Browning study right now, to be honest with y'all. I think it needs to be some tweaks and needs to be some more work into that Browning study. But to fiscally be responsible looking forward, I'm not sure we can continue to have 13 pools. I'm not convinced.
Chris?
I appreciate what everybody's been saying up here, all the candidates. I concur with most of this. I was looking at that MMRB, the reserve study in the pool. I think it's at 33%. But I do like the idea. I did attend the committee meeting where they were talking about a 50-year life versus 35-year on pools and replacement every 3 or 4 years. And I do concur with Marge that I don't think we want to be in the position of closing things down. My attitude is that of can do, and that I believe that we put our minds to it, we could do anything. But I think there's also awareness campaigns and a rigorous maintenance program. So a rigorous maintenance program on pools is going to keep the life going, but pools are the lifeblood. And I live here full time, and in July, I'm going to be at the pools. And it's a tough decision, but we have to make thoughtful decisions. And that's where I stand.
Has anybody not spoken that wishes to speak? Or now forever hold your tongue. Okay. We've solved the pool problem. Let's talk a little bit about the guest pass policy. There was a recent change in the guest pass policy in this last year. There was a couple different questions here, so I'm just going to paraphrase them. What is your opinion of the current guest pass policy that was just amended recently? Who would like to start? Marge. Thank you.
I'm going to jump in there and make enemies, I'm sure. But I think we have a guest pass policy that we've been, as a board and as committees, messing with. A single person gets not a guest card, they get a second card. And you can call it a guest card, you can call it anything you want. But I think if we start messing with it and saying, well, you can only go for 30 days, or it can only be as long as 60 days, we're getting ourselves into a real sticky wicket. I have a partner, I have a husband, and we each get a card. And Kathy, I'll use her because I know she's single, she gets one card for her, and she gets one card that I guess they're now calling a guest card. But she's always been able to use the card, so when she had guests or a person come stay with her for over a year, she could use that card for them to go and not have to buy guest cards. So I'm a proponent of, let's not make problems where there are no problems, let's just let things alone.
Anyone else? Barry, you're hesitantly raising your
Yeah, I'm
finger.
kind of hesitant to even get into this, but this was very, very confusing when I came on the Fiscal Affairs Committee to understand the difference between a guest pass, a complimentary guest pass, weekly guest pass, daily guest pass. It's one of the most confusing things, additional GVR card, it's like, wow, it's very confusing. But, I was at the meeting when the board discussed, had a forum, and I think it was a difficult process that they went through, but I think they got to a good outcome, and I'm pretty supportive right now of the guest pass where it's 60 days for $85 and 4 people can use it. I get that, and it makes sense to me. People that are single, living, I do believe it's an equity issue. They should also be getting something other than just their one guest pass or their one member card. I'll leave it
Chris?
at that.
For me, it goes back to the data. Back, I don't know if it was September board meeting, the data that was being shared, one guest pass policy, guest pass was being used 500 times or several of them, and then 400 times and 300 times. As a user of the pools and facilities, I've seen some abuse of passes. And so when I saw that data, I was trying to seek to understand and look at all viewpoints to see why people would want to go from 30 to 60 days. I personally thought 30 days was fine, but I also, people spoke up. They wanted to have 60 days on that and up to 4 people. Initially, I was like, I think at 30 days and 2 people is fine. I don't think a lot of people are coming here for more than 30 days and more than 2 people. But then again, I don't have a large family that comes to visits. So I attended a board meeting to hear other people. And I appreciate the board moving to 60 days and 4 people.
Christy?
I think the members have spoken. And I think the board has done a very good job of responding to what they heard and trying to make the guest pass policy as user-friendly as possible. I do think there is an equity issue for single-member households. And I think that the guest pass policy is only as good as the people who are using it and making sure that they're using it appropriately.
Thank you. Dale?
Yeah, the other part of this was because, as you heard, there were abuses. A card that was used over 500 times, and the other one was used over 400. So part of the problem was we got confused between modifying the guest card policies and trying to stop the abuses. And the water got real muddy real fast, and it took a long time for the board and the members to kind of come to an agreement. I think we've gotten most of it straightened out. I hope that the single get their cards for the year like they should be entitled to. Hopefully that's all worked out, but it did get real icky real fast.
Thank you. So we're going to close out the last of these questions, and keep in mind also that the candidates will be here afterwards, so you can speak with them one-on-one if your question wasn't answered, or if you need a follow-up on something that they said and you have some further questions of them. Another topic that's been in the news in GVR lately, in parlors and everywhere else, is the situation with the Del Sol Clubhouse. And this question was asked last week as well, but I think it's pertinent because it is an issue. What should happen at the Del Sol Clubhouse, and should we sell alcohol there? Who wants to go first? Chris?
I'll take a shot at it. I am excited about Del Sol, and it kind of goes back to my tenet of innovation. I visited there a couple times this summer and fall. I I believe that the Del Sol and the Del Sol Clubhouse and the three phases that Scott has put forth is pragmatic, in that the first phase is slow, lower costs, looking at the data, seeing how things are going. And then phase two, I believe May or June, I don't have all the dates. Phase three could be alcohol. I said before I owned a wine bar. I do know about insurance for wine and beer and the difference with that and hard alcohol. I don't think I would support hard alcohol because insurance is quite expensive there. But I think that it goes back to our mission statement of enhancing the lives of our members, and going back to, I believe, 2020 or 2021, a survey of, I think it was 200 plus members at least said they would like to have a clubhouse where they could go and socialize. I just firmly believe that vending machines aren't conducive to socializing, and so I'm a proponent of that.
Marge?
You know, the whole premise of having a social center is to have a place where people can go, and I hear they want a few more TVs out there to watch their football games. And maybe our new cafe will be able to do some of their eats for the parties. The pool area down below is very well used, and I think people really like having all the pool tables in one place, and they can have a lot more people and a lot more things. We've tried the vendor, we've tried the outside, and now I think Scott has a handle on doing this slowly and carefully. And the one thing we have said we will do, and that's maintain facilities and provide service. To me, as a board member, this is providing service. People would like to have a social center, and part of that is the Del Sol Cafe. Anyone
else? Barry?
At the last forum, I indicated that generally I would not be supportive of an organization such as ours competing with the private sector. We've tried that private sector experiment, it didn't work. Now I'm very supportive of the plan that staff has put forward, and it's a phased plan, and I might mention that after each phase, we're gonna look at it financially to determine if it makes sense to go to the next phase. Whether we go to hard liquor, I'm kind of leaning in that direction. I've had experience with liquor store establishments, and the insurance costs and liability issues with hard liquor jump dramatically from when you go from just wine and beer, although I wouldn't rule it out. It's something that we will consider as we go forward.
Christie.
Oh, also one more thing. 4 more big screen TVs, NFL Network, all the games, every Sunday, and the March Madness.
Appropriate timing there. Christie?
Yes, I concur with NFL Network and March Madness. I think it's great that we have this opportunity to provide this for people. I think it's spectacular that there is a plan where we can sort of crawl, walk, run. And I think that just making sure we're really monitoring that and getting good data and understanding what that data actually means to us and to the members is going to be critical to ensuring that this is successful for a long time.
Dale?
Yeah, by hiring in 1989 and starting what we started, we set a precedent that we've got something in the Del Sol, and it's a social place. And since we're not having any success finding another vendor, and Scott's and his staff are willing to do this, I think the very staged approach that we're taking is the best thing possible, because we've given the members a taste and now they don't want to give it back. So we got to do that. And if you've come up to the shows here, if you've been to some of the parties and what have you, where they've served alcohol, it's been, I think, a great addition to the whole atmosphere of the shows and what have you. So as long as we can handle the insurance, and I'm sure Scott's got that under control, let's go for it and keep that phased approach. And as long as that works in stages, I think we got a winner.
Thank you. So you've heard from the candidates the questions posed. What we'll do now is each candidate will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Marge?
Why did you start down here? Usually you start with Barry.
I know, but I didn't want to think that I wasn't giving Bev the appropriate time.
I don't mind if Barry'd like to go first.
Oh, go ahead, Marge.
Okay. I've been involved in GVR in one way or another since 2006. We bought our house. Our realtor said, you're going to buy a small place, then you're going to move into another house, and by the time you're done, you're going to wind up with a home that's sitting on property by itself. So we decided to go for that first. We sold everything else, and we moved down here, and we've loved every single day. Well, maybe there was a day when I had the shingles that I didn't enjoy it. But other than that, you know, I've played mahjong. I tried to learn to play bridge, and she told me to go back to canasta. And I've tried several of the different clubs. I've tried a lot of the sports, you know, the tennis, the pickleball. I haven't gotten to bocce yet. Maybe I can try that next. So I think there's a lot here. There's a lot of great people here that we've made a lot of friends and acquaintances throughout the years that we've been here. I think I give to the board, I give as much as I can. I try to represent the members, and I try not to get into any fights with a board member. Beth will tell you that. She and I never really agree, but we can usually figure out something that works. So I think that's the best part of being on the board, and I'd like your vote for another 3 years. Did I say that? I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Dale?
Well, the third time's a charm. I've run now 3 years in a row. And just to show you how much of an integrity I have, for about the last 8 months, if any one of the board members had dropped off, I would have become the last man standing and been the next board member. And everybody's still alive and healthy. So the temptation was there, but I didn't take it up. So anyhow, no, for 12 years or 13 years, I sat out here and I groused and I grumbled, and I thought that board was a bunch of crazy idiots. And the more I thought about it, I decided, okay, it's time for me to put up. I've sat on the sideline and as an official, I know exactly what it is. You can sit in the stands and call a game much better than the guy down there in the striped shirt, except he's got the whistle, so he wins. So yeah, I want to be able to use my skills and my talents and work towards making sure that GVR continues to be the great organization that it is and continue to improve it for the next 3 years. So vote for me, please.
Thank you. Chris?
Just want to thank you all for being here on a Wednesday evening. Thank you to also the board for putting this on, and all the members for answering all these questions. Again, I'm a full-time member, a full-time resident here. So here in the summer, here in the fall and the winter, only sometimes gone on vacation. Who I am is I truly value collaboration and teamwork. And I've said it, I think, a couple of times. I truly believe that when a group of people come together, they can do anything is possible. I have had the opportunity to be on numerous committees. While they're not on GVR committees, I haven't served yet on GVR. In my background, leading committees, helping write a strategic plan, and renewing that strategic plan and those leadership opportunities, I think puts me in a position to be an adequate candidate for you. I make thoughtful decisions, and I really, it's easy to say fiscally, conservative, but I am. My wife and I are very conservative when it comes to our checkbook, and I think that, that goes why we moved down here to Green Valley. You can't look at anywhere in America and see the value of Green Valley anywhere else. And so I feel like I can see the big picture, and I look at all sides, thoughtful decision making, but also not afraid to make the decisions. So thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you. Christy?
Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. I really appreciate your time. I know that a lot of people, that are retired say, well, I have nothing but time, but that really isn't true because everybody seems to be also very busy. So I hope that my experience, the answers that I brought here this evening, help give you an idea of who I am and what value I can bring to the board. I will bring the same level of engagement and accountability that I see from our members to the board. I am, like Chris, I'm a huge fan of teamwork and collaboration, and I think it is absolutely critical when people are making decisions. I just lost the words that were in my mind, but I'll come up with something else. So I will seek to listen to understand before I speak. I will make sure that I do my homework ahead of time so that when I'm bringing productive discussion to all of the working meetings and the board meetings. So hopefully I've earned your trust this evening or throughout the course of this election process, and I hope to see you all on the board at some point in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Barry?
Thank you, Tony, for hosting this evening, being our moderator, and thank you all for attending. I want to reiterate what I said at the last forum that we had. I'm pleased to be in the midst of such quality candidates. I think you'll see here that we all love the services and facilities programs that are offered here in Green Valley. And if you believe my background and experience would be of value to you and GVR, I would appreciate your support in the upcoming election. There's 5 organizational core values that I've kind of adhered to throughout my career, and these are 5 that I would pledge to support if I'm elected: fiscal responsibility, accountability, customer service, teamwork, and sustainability. And if elected, it would be my hope that I would leave GVR in a better place than I had found it. And given what I know about GVR today, that's a pretty high bar that I've set for myself. So thank you.
Thank you. 3 positions, 5 extremely qualified and competent candidates. Tough choice, but got to make it. If you know of individuals who were not able to be here tonight, you can suggest that they go online. This session was recorded and it'll be out there. Last Wednesday's session is already out there. The candidates' interviews that were conducted by Regina Ford are also there. I want to take a moment before we go to Beth Dingman. Beth's going to go over the bylaws, but I want to thank the candidates for what they did, for stepping forward. It's not easy, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll pick up the evaluations later. So raise your hand if you want to hear about the bylaws. Okay, all right. Okay, there's 7 on the ballot. The first one, Article 5, term of office. Currently, the board member can serve no more than 2 terms consecutively and then be reelected after 1-year absence. The change would be that it would be a 3-year absence after 2 terms before you could be reelected. So the time would be from 1 to 3 years before a member could be reelected after having served 2 terms. Yes. I'm just giving information, but okay. I'm not trying to rationalize it. I'm just trying to explain it, what it means. The nomination process currently worded, Nominations and Elections Committee shall conduct a survey for nominees to serve in the board. This change means that anyone can just submit an application, that they don't have to be, the nomination committee does not have to conduct a search, which is in fact the way it's always happened. We have never really conducted a search. It's mostly people just, so this is really no change to the way it is always already happening. Question 3, Article 7. This allows checks under $10,000 to be signed solely by the CEO. Currently, the CEO can only sign checks for $2,500 and under. So It just raises the caps. It makes it easier and more efficient for the CEO to write checks that need to be written. Question 4, Article 8, standing committees. Currently, the bylaws stipulate 5 standing committees. This changes the number of committees to 3. So we eliminate the Nominations and Elections Committee, and we eliminate Planning and Evaluation. The intent is to incorporate the functions of these 2 committees into Board Affairs and Fiscal Affairs. Question 5, Article 8, composition of committees. This changes the way committee members are selected. Currently, the chairperson of the committee selects his or her committee members. This change would have the entire board of directors select committee members. Question 6, Article 8, subcommittees. This just removes the exception of Nominations and Elections Committee from appointing subcommittees. And this revision is just intended to reflect the current committee structure. Question 7, Article 8, open meetings. Except for the Audit Committee, this says that all committee meetings, subcommittee meetings, and work sessions are open to members. Currently, committees are allowed to close meetings at their discretion. So those are the changes. Most of them are fairly minor. I think the only real difference, ones that make a difference, would be the change from 1 to 3 years, after which a person can be reelected to the board, and getting rid of 2 committees. Those are the only really substantive ones that I can see. Carol, do you have a question? Right. Right. Well, it's there on the ballot. And I'm just trying to explain to you what it means to vote yes or no in each case. I'm just trying to make it clear. And it's basically, they're very minor changes. And most of it is just, a lot of it is wording, so it's consistent with what's happening anyway. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you. And the board members would be available for people to ask individual questions if you wish.
Thank you again. If there's a survey on your desk regarding the forums, so please fill that out. Make sure you vote. If you're mailing in your vote, or you know somebody who is mailing in their vote, tell them to do that like tomorrow, so it gets there on time. Thank you for attending, and please drive safely home.